Senator Chirange.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I agree with you that this is the first time that we are doing this. Mr. Speaker, I don't know, maybe through SBC or your office, understanding order number one, Mr. Speaker, I agree with you that this is the first us to ask. I know that is behind us, but the point I'm trying to make, Speaker, understanding order number one, I wish the Senate Business Committee, especially when the Minister of Interior is appearing, Minister of Finance, Minister of Health, is it possible to schedule them only during one session, for example, like between, we have amended from 9:30 to 12:30, Mr. Speaker, because security is everything. You and me agree. There is a lot that goes on from the village level to the highest level, Mr. Speaker, and I know the next time, even if some of these questions, Mr. Speaker, as you have noted, that it could be substantial,
Honorable
but
Senators,
again, it could be overtaken by events.
The reason
like the issue of banditry in the north, like other issues, what is happening in Shakahola, cult, Mr. Speaker, in your county, and many others, Mr. Speaker. So I call upon, in as much as there is standing order number 51, 7C, Mr. Speaker, and I also need your interpretation on this because I have realized my colleagues, Mr. Speaker, just allow me quickly as we allow changeover. Also understanding order 51C7B. When it says it says upon the issuance of response or making of a statement under paragraph 1, the Speaker may. So you can see, Mr. Speaker, standing order number 1 and 51.7c is similar. May be, of course, allow the senator who asks the question to raise a maximum of 2 supplementary questions that relate to that question. And B, allow any other senator to ask a supplementary question. Mr. Speaker, on that 51C7B, you need to give direction so that members cannot use that as a pretext of making a debate, making a speech. And when you say supplementary question, does it mean you can tie up into one question before asking, Mr. Speaker? And Mr. Speaker, kindly in future, understanding order number 1, you have power, Mr. Speaker, to allow us to ask as many questions as possible, Mr. Speaker. And even the Bible says we were not meant to obey the rules. It is the rules who should obey us, Mr. Speaker. So I beg with your indulgence, Mr. Speaker. And I know as you sit here, Mr. Speaker, sir, you would have also wished that we ask something about Shakahola in your county because you cannot ask. Some of us were willing to do the job for you, the legwork, Mr. Speaker. So kindly be patient with us. Please be fair to us. You are our father. Please sometimes allow us to ask for the benefit of our constituents, Mr. Speaker. With that indulgence, I thank you.
Thank you, Senator Chirange. Indeed, this is the first session we're having on these newly introduced standing orders. And going forward, of course, we are learning and looking at the weight and the interest that is normally generated whenever the CS Interior appears either before the National Assembly or the Senate. I believe as we sit in SBC, we'll take on board the very valid concerns that you've raised, that maybe whenever the CS Interior is appearing, we do not have any other CSs appearing on that particular day, so that we can give ample time to senators to ask as many supplementary questions as possible. But I believe it's a learning process. Once we retire as SBC, these are the things we're going to put together, looking at the experience we've had today. How do we then get better going forward? And I believe the next session should be much better than the one we are just having. But indeed, it is a valid concern that you've raised, and we're going to take it on board once we retire as SBC. Is the CS Lands present? Senator Fatuma Dulo, kindly proceed to ask your question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank you. I thank also the CS for lands. Mr. Speaker, let me confirm to this House, this is the second time that I'm actually pursuing this matter. The first time I brought a question to the floor of the House, and NLC completely refused to respond to the issues I have raised. And that is why I'm repeating the question, because my people's rights is being violated. Number two, Mr. Speaker, I don't know whether you can allow me to ask the question plus supplementary so that I'm done with the question.
Let us abide by our standing orders. Just ask the question,
Okay.
let the CS respond, and then you shall rise to ask your supplementary question.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, I beg to ask the Cabinet Secretary for Lands, Public Works, Housing and Urban Development. Could the Cabinet Secretary state the reason for the disparity in compensation between residents of Nuno, Madogashi and Isiolo affected by the African Gateway project, and further provide the criteria used in determining the compensation figures? Number two, what are the measures put in place by the government to ensure equitable compensation to the affected residents in both areas? Can I confirm to this House that I have not gone through the response I've just received this morning? I thank you.
Cabinet Secretary, kindly proceed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this chance to appear before this August House, and also appreciate the question from Honorable Senator Fatuma Dulo. Mr. Speaker, I request for your indulgence and guidance because, as the Honorable Senator said, the mandate of compensation for public lands is squarely on National Lands Commission pursuant to Article 67 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 and Section 113 of the Land Act 2012. Mr. Speaker, after receiving this question, I forwarded the matter to the National Lands Commission via the letter dated 20th April 2023, and it's annexed. It's marked as Annexure 2, and I received a report which is attached as Annexure 2. Honorable Speaker, this matter was executed by the National Lands Commission, which is an independent institution. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I was requesting for your guidance as to whether I go ahead and submit the report that I received from the National Lands Commission, because as a government, the report we received, we feel it's not adequately done. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, if I'm allowed, I would request that you give guidance to this, whether I go ahead and give and submit the report that I received from the National Lands Commission.
Senator Dulo.
Mr. Speaker, let me take this opportunity to thank the CS. Mr. Speaker, I'm really heartened because NLC is a government department, is squarely under Ministry of Lands. And as the minister has said, we have even had a sitting with the commissioners and the chair. We have even gone round as leaders of Isiolo to look at this matter. But clearly, the chair and the commissioners are evading the issues of Isiolo County. I don't mind the CS submitting the report that he received from NLC, but I will appeal to this House. The only way that Isiolo people can receive justice, let the Committee of Lands or Roads go on the ground, Mr. Speaker, so that Isiolo people can actually get justice as far as this compensation is concerned. Mr. Speaker.
Senator Fatuma, just, yes, what is your point of order, Senator Mandago?
Mr. Speaker, Arise on Standing Order number 105 on the statement of fact. I've heard the Senator for Isiolo saying that the National Land Commission is a department in Ministry of Lands. Mr. Speaker, as far as I'm concerned, the National Land Commission is an independent constitutional commission. Is it in order for the Senator for Isiolo to mislead the House?
Very well, Senator Fatuma Dulo. These are the Chapter 15
Mr. Speaker,
Constitution.
thank you for this, but whether it's an independent commission or not, it's a commission directly under the parent ministry, which is Ministry of Lands. That is why the minister is responding to the queries. But my request, Mr. Speaker, as far as this matter is concerned, I would urge an appeal to the relevant committee to visit the affected communities so that we can deal with this matter for finality. I thank you.
CAS present captives of industry.
Senator
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning.
It's not here. Senator Chute.
It's clear that the private sector is the engine for growth. Successful business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Create jobs.
Thank you, CS
and
Lands.
they pay the taxes that finance
I
services
have
and investments.
one question only.
The private sector generate up
There
to
is land
90%
in Moyale,
of the jobs created. They
big
fund
chunk of land
60%
called Ubal
of
Teacher.
all investments and provide
It has a
more than
dispute
80% of
between
government
3
revenues.
communities,
And I don't think Kenya is
the
any
Boran,
different.
the Gabra,
However,
and the Burji.
sustainable and inclusive
I wanted
private
to
sector
know
growth does
from
not
the
happen
CS
on its own accord.
if you are aware
It actually,
of this
government
dispute.
plays a critical role in supporting this
when
economic growth
are you going to
by
solve
providing
this
good
dispute?
policies,
Thank you.
strong institutions, and efficient public goods and services to ensure that the
Honorable
private
CS.
sector can really thrive. In addition, governments must also commit to develop and sustain
What is the point
those
of order,
institutions
Senator
that
Boni?
implement, oversee, and regulate.
Mr. Speaker, I'm lost.
the enabling environment that
The minister has
encourages
told
the
us
private sector to invest.
That
It then dictates
he doesn't
that a well-coordinated
believe
and efficient public
or
sector
is not
essential
satisfied with the answer he's
economic
giving us.
growth.
And here we
Look
are,
forward to a public sector
after he asked us
that
to make that
runs
decision.
with a private sector
Still listening.
business mindset.
Mr. Speaker,
Ensuring
Senator
that
Boni,
government
a ruling
delivers on
is going
its
to be made
promise to the people
to that
of Kenya.
effect.
okay.
Running
Yes.
Kenya as a business.
ruling is going to be
suppose
made
we would
to
have
that
Kenya
effect.
Thank you.
integrated. This is what we look forward
Honorable
to.
CS.
Which is why today we celebrate performance management.
Thank you,
in
Mr.
this
Speaker.
sector. And we congratulate
In
the public
regards
sector
to
on
the
what
land
they're doing
issue
this morning,
in
celebrating
Moyale,
public,
I want to
public
tell this August
performance
House I'm not
management.
aware of it, but I look
Your
into
Excellency,
it
the Kenya private
and
sector has
give
played an important role in
satisfactory
supporting
response to that.
performance management initiatives in several ways
Mr.
by
Speaker,
providing expertise
It's good to
in
let
various
this August
ways,
House know
tools,
that
and technological support.
National Land Commission inspects, values, and rewards any compensation on the lands, on public lands. Therefore, and since they are an independent institution, they are allowed to do that by law. So, my request, Mr. Speaker, is to let National Lands Commission be summoned so that they can adequately tackle this issue, because all the information that is needed to this August House will only come from them. So I'm still requesting that the House, through you, Mr. Speaker, to request the National Lands Commission to come and give and shed more light to this issue from the Senator Fatuma Dulo.
Senator Mandago.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this question by Senator Fatuma Dulo. And my request, Mr. Speaker, because this is a practice that we've seen NLC undertake in various government projects. Mr. Speaker, you remember there was compensation for the SGR. In my own county, there was compensation for Kentraco transmission lines. And Mr. Speaker, we are seeing this in Isiolo. The biggest challenge we have, Mr. Speaker, is the process of valuation by NLC. And Mr. Speaker, I would want to request that the chair of NLC be
What is your
summoned to the House.
supplementary question, Senator Mandago? You know, this is not a statement where you...
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, my request is the Chair NLC should be summoned so that we can ask direct supplementary questions on the issues of valuation. But allow me now that I have this chance to ask the Cabinet Secretary for lands. What plans does the ministry have to ensure that all public utilities in this country are titled? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
CS?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The government is in the process of securing all public land in the country. This is a process we have started with the learning institutions. That's our universities, our technical colleges, schools, and this was prompted by the grabbing that has been rampant in our public institutions. So, Mr. Speaker, as a ministry, we are working hard to make sure that all public land is secured through titling, and we are doing that through the National Titling Program. Mr. Speaker, the question of land compensation and valuation is done by that independent commission. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, we would request as a government to detach the two processes so that we are able as a ministry to supervise and know where there is over valuation and undervaluation. And I totally agree with the senator who has brought up this question that we require the National Lands Commission to come and shed more light to this. Thank you.
Honorable CS, you had two questions to respond to. You attempted to respond question A.
Yes.
Can you proceed to respond to question B?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. As a government, we are preparing a national lands value index. Mr. Speaker, so far we've managed to do land value index to 22 counties, and the remaining 25 counties, the process is ongoing, and Isiolo is one of them. This national land value index we are going to develop a database of land values across the country, and we are going to achieve four main things. One is to harmonize land values for different areas across the country. We'll also generate a reference point for the land values for compensation and other related purposes. Also, we are going to guide investment decisions for both public and private entities. And lastly, guide national and county governments in budgeting for public projects. So the cure to this, Mr. Speaker, is to have this land value index, because with that, we'll be able to compensate people adequately without overvaluing or without undervaluing. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Chiranke.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the indulgence. Just a quick supplementary question to the CS of Lands. Mr. Speaker, sir, through you, how many forest evictees or people who have been evicted in Nandi County and the intention of compensating them? Plus, Mr. Speaker, the ministry and through National Land Commission, they had ordered resurveying of multinational tea estates across South Rift and in Nandi. So specifically in Nandi, Mr. Speaker, the resurveying of multinational tea estates will take how long, Mr. Speaker? And if there is excess lands that are being occupied by the multinational tea estates, what is the intention of the Ministry of Lands to do with the excess land? I thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Honorable CS.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. on issues raised by the Honorable Senator. I would request that I get more time to look into that because as it was not part of what we had prepared for today, but promise that we are going to look into that and give this House adequate answer to that. Thank you.
Honorable Senators, as you ask your supplementary questions, let it be related to the subject, to the primary question. That will allow the Honorable CS give you a comprehensive answer. Any question, supplementary question that is not related to the primary question, then you will get the very response that you've just received from the CS, that I need to go back and prepare and come back. So your supplementary questions, let them flow from the primary question so that the CS can adequately respond to that. Senator Abbas.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. My explanatory question is that the Waziri, you are aware that title deeds are very important documents to this country today. And most parts of this country, especially in Wajir, Garissa, and Mandera, experiencing issues to do with title deeds. When will the ministry open offices to issue title deeds? Because it has become difficult, traveling all the way from Mandera and Wajir to look for title deeds in this place. So when will you have a regional office that can be able to give us title deeds? And what's your plan?
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And to report that we're in the process of opening up registries in areas that had no registries. This is in line with what the government is doing, because what we are doing at the moment is making sure that all our land records are digitized. And with that, that will help us do away with most issues that have been rampant in the land sector. So we are going to bring these services closer to Wananchi, and soon we'll be having, we are going to open registries in areas that had none. And that will make sure that that problem of acquiring titles and other land documents will be availed in time. Thank you.
Senator Manzo.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I'm concerned with the independence of the National Land Commission and the role of the ministry. It seems that most questions we are going to bring here, it will be back and forth. I would like the Honorable Minister to clarify to what extent, as much as the National Land Commission is independent with its technical work, to what extent then are you able to advise or even control the